All right, hello everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
We're
Dan,
free.
our children are gone.
Children are gone. I'm actually, as she says, with the bounce of her hair.
Dude, it was like a combat drop mission. Like getting them out the door was horrible.
Yeah, I felt a
Not the
little bit
children, the
guilty,
grandparents.
but I had work to do. I had to stay upstairs and not subject myself to them leaving. But
It's okay, you'll buy me dinner tonight.
I'll buy you dinner tonight. Korean food. All right, how is everyone?
Very good. Oh, I have a side question. Where do you guys order Korean food from?
It's called Restaurant Korea.
Restaurant Korea. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The best place in the world, but you have to go get it.
Yeah, they
They won't
don't.
deliver.
They're not on Food Panda or anything.
Nice.
And actually, we stole some
Some
plastic.
Tupperware from them. Yeah,
stuff
they
from them.
gave us some Tupperware last time. So
Yeah. How's everyone doing? Any adventures in English?
I've been listening to everyone's videos, so I'm very happy.
Yes, I listened to Desi's video 5 seconds before I had to log on. So thank you for making that video exactly as long as it was and not any longer. Because if it was, I would be late. Any other new words, questions?
I have some. I will add them just in a second.
Okay. Making sure that I have written down everyone's name. Nikolai, Kostadin, Demeter, Svetan, Demo. Yeah, I got everyone. Okay. So. All right. Well, thank you all for doing the homework. It was difficult homework. It was something that I'm not very good at. So thank you for helping me practice that. And especially applause to everyone who had a preparation meeting with their partner so that you could figure out what you were going to praise in that person. That's good. Okay. Okay. There were some new words, some new phrases in those videos, which I want to talk about. This first one, I don't actually remember who said this, but it's a good phrase, dealing with work and children. So the preposition is with, and it's a good phrase because it implies that you're not solving a problem, but maybe someday you will solve that problem.
I think this was Katsuto's video for me. So yeah, I'm not solving the problem. Maybe
Right.
one day I will.
So exactly dealing with children, you can never solve children, but you might be able to deal with them. This one, the preposition for a magic spell, if you want to know it, is under. You're under a spell. Again, I don't remember which video that came from, but it's a good video. It's a good expression. I remember, actually, that's from the homework. That's from this page that I told you to read. So under a spell, that's from Don Miguel Ruiz. This one is interesting. This one is from Ralitza. And she said, we talked a little, but I think that it would be better to say we didn't talk much. What do you think, Ralitza? Did you talk more or less than you expected? I can't hear you if you're talking.
I think that we talked less.
Right.
Less.
So in that case, it's better to say we didn't talk much.
We didn't talk much.
Yeah. I suppose you can also say we only talked a little. That's also less than I expected. But if you say, yes,
Can we say we had a short conversation?
better to say we only had a short conversation. Because again, if you say we had a short conversation, that sounds like it was as much as you expected. But in the context of Ralitza's video, she said, we only talked a little, but here is the information that I got from that small amount of communication. So the word only is helpful here. Okay. So I will put this word in bold, only. Come on, there we go. And this one is from Simeon. He said it correctly, and it's a good expression if it's new for the rest of you. I had every intention of doing something, but I didn't. So this is a very nice phrase
This
you
is
can
so
use.
Pride and Prejudice.
All right. So it's a formal, it's formal, it's official, it's a good phrase to use with your clients when you're saying that you planned to do it, but you didn't do it. If you want something more informal, you can say, I was going to. Is that new for anyone? Maybe not. Okay. All right, then we had some other, some of your questions. So who's is this Desi's?
Yeah, those are mine. In Bulgarian language, I promise is like обещавам. It's something from the future. I promise
Right.
I will do something. I will practice. But in English, I tend to come across this use for the past tense. Like I didn't break that glass. I promise.
Yeah.
It's childish, kind of childish to me. Like children doesn't understand the promises
What promise means.
and
Right.
use the past. And I was wondering, can you use this thing in English for a future thing?
Yeah,
Or
well,
for a present thing?
can you use it for the future? Yes.
No, for the past, for the past.
For the past,
future,
yes.
For the past.
Right. So the way
I
that
think
you
for the
described
past
it.
is something like, I swear I didn't break that glass.
Right, exactly. And in fact, I agree with you. I also think that you should say swear instead of promise. That's my dialect. But there are dialects of English where promise is a synonym of swear. So they just use promise and swear interchangeably. I have a feeling that in British English, this is more the case. But I think I've heard it in America too. So it might be just that's how kids are talking these days, and I'm an old-fashioned old man who doesn't like it. That's always possible.
It's very interesting that I noticed that in Bulgarian language, this is going into the Bulgarian language, and I hear children saying, обещавам, не го направих аз, like in Bulgarian, it doesn't sound right.
Doesn't sound right. Yeah. So it doesn't sound right to me in English either, and yet I hear it. So, you know, when enough people make a mistake, it's not a mistake anymore. So, like I said, it seems like British English to me, but it might also just be new. Okay, we have this one, mea culpa. Is that the one from you, Jesse? It is Latin, and it means it means literally it means my guilt. but it is basically the same as my bad. You know, when you make a mistake and you say, "Oh, my bad." We have reinvented this Latin phrase, and so you can say this if you've made a mistake. You can say "mea culpa," but you can also use it as a noun. You can say everyone has his mea culpa, or everyone gave their mea culpas.
It's super fancy way of speaking, right?
Super fancy, right?
Okay.
So I've seen this in writing. I don't know if I've heard it. Maybe I've heard it occasionally, but yeah, it's rare. And Abyss. Is that also you, Desi?
Yeah, I'm watching that amazing show, which is Money Heist, and I recommend it to all of you. It's
Money
from
Heist. I've heard of it.
It's in Netflix, and everything that I wrote here is because I had the time to watch it.
Good, it's good practice. So an abyss is a pit, a deep place. I think that originally it's Greek, and I think its literal meaning is bottomless, so that it has no bottom. So
like in Bezna in Bulgarian, the
Okay.
Bulgarian, something like that.
Okay. Yes. So you can use it as a metaphor. You can say I'm in an emotional abyss. In other words, I'm depressed. Or you can use it literally. You can say we sent the submarine into the abyss, and you know that's where it went. We lost it. Pavlin is saying something.
We sent the box checkout into the abyss.
Into the abyss with it. Goodbye. So, any other new words or questions from the reading? Okay. All right. In that case, let's continue then. Speaking about the homework first, let's talk about the homework. So there were some good questions that I got out of those videos. The first question is, how can a person become better at folk dancing? Who has a suggestion? Tikhomir, what's your suggestion for becoming better at folk dancing?
I actually have a story. It's
Oh,
very close to that.
Yeah.
In high school, I was the guy that stays on the chair and occasionally taps his foot in the rhythm of music, never dancing.
Me too.
Yeah, and but at university, I decided that I don't want to be that guy, and it was not folk dancing, it was salsa, Latin American stuff dancing, and it had some peer pressure involved. So first acquire peer pressure, it helps, and then for first couple of months I was still very nervous. So this was unfamiliar. I drank a beer before each lesson, so acquire alcohol. And if there is personal resistance, for me, externalizing the problem worked. So make it like not a decision. Like every lesson, every practice was not really a decision. It was, I have a meeting with someone to go there, and I had a beer and I don't care. So this was my solution to dancing.
That's interesting. So you made it sort of a habit where it was the same every time.
Yeah, actually, it worked. Quickly became a hobby, and I was very happy that I'm doing it.
There you go.
Yeah.
The alcohol too is a real thing. The reason I'm talking about dancing is because it's actually very similar to learning a language. It's complicated, and if you screw up, you feel bad about it. And people who are good at it do it without thinking. So it's the same as speaking a language. And there was an experiment where people were injected with muscle relaxant to make them dizzy. And then asked to speak a foreign language, and they were much more fluent. They spoke the language with much more ease because they they were full of muscle relaxant and they couldn't think very well, and they couldn't second guess themselves, and they couldn't be ashamed of their mistakes. So they just talked, and they were much more fluent. So alcohol works the same way.
The consent form for this experiment would have been amazing.
I don't know. I need to look up the background of that study to see what their ethics committee had to say about it. I wonder if the scientists, the linguists, were already getting really drunk every Friday night, and this was just a way they could get some funding for it.
Yeah. Maybe.
Any other advice for learning a skill like that, Pavlina?
Dancing. Hang out with Mitko. Get Mitko drunk. Make
There you
Mitko
go,
teach
drunk.
me how to do choro. That's on my to-do list. I don't know if Mitko is on the call. Yeah, he is. Mitko.
Uh-oh. It sounds like we're making plans. Yeah. Go ahead, Mitko.
Oh no, I just couldn't unmute myself. I'm here.
Hello. It sounds like we're making plans for our team building.
Get Mitko drunk. Get me to teach you how to do choro. Maybe. We'll
That
see.
would
have
be
to practice a bit.
helpful for me. Given that I have a wedding coming and we don't know a single choro. So Dimitar, just
I have to do it anyway for my sister's wedding, so
I have another story.
Go ahead, Tigran.
Yeah, I'm also quite bad at folk dancing. I actually know this one thing, and I persisted using this a couple of steps to every kind of folk music. And this frustrates people that do know what they're doing. And I remember before Dimu's wedding, at his bachelor party, he taught all the men there to dance this more complex choro. And I remember we did it at his wedding, and we were bad at it, but we were very proud at doing that. Nikki was there. Nikki remembers.
Bad but proud. I like that. I'm
Bad
going
but
to write
proud,
that
yeah.
down. Good. That's something. That's the mental state that you should try to find. Okay. My next question.
Sorry, just one more thing.
Yeah.
So this is me writing stories, guys. Bad but proud. Tihumire, write it down. Put it somewhere on your wall.
Will do.
Bad but proud.
Because this is a real thing. This is the cure for perfectionism. Perfectionism stops a lot more progress than it causes. It's usually a barrier. It scares you into not even beginning a process. But if you can enter the process with this philosophy, then you might stop being bad at some point. Okay, I wanted to ask Desi, how do you keep track of things?
it's
Is
a
that-
pro forma I want.
It's a what?
It's a pro forma. Can I say that? Like
I don't think so, but explain what you
it just appears that I keep track of things.
No, pro forma means something else. What
Okay.
do you want to say? It's an illusion.
Yeah, it's an illusion. I have my notebook here, and I write things there, and I don't think I keep track. Actually, now when you ask me that, I'm thinking that I might be have very low like thinking for me, like I don't think very much of my skills of planning. And just now we were on lunch with Rarica and we talked about the wedding, and she was amazed that there are 1 month left and it's basically ready and nothing,
All right.
very little things left to do. And when she said that, it appears to me that, right, that's absolutely correct. I managed to do that, and I don't know how.
In that case,
I
I have
no
I-
idea.
in that case, this is something that I was talking about with Tikomir in the chat in our forum. I watched an NHK documentary about Japanese sword masters, and the sword master, and how do you learn to be a sword master? You find a better sword master, and you steal his skills. In other words, you follow him around and you watch him, and he might not talk to you. He might tell you to go away, in fact, but you watch him until you pick up his skills. So everyone please watch Desi and steal her skills.
So I use Notebook, I use Todoist,
Yes?
and I use a lot of lists every time when I think of something that needs to be done. And at the end, when I need to do something to see what I have to do today or in the next 4 weeks, I go through the notebook to the Todoist, to the other list, and combine them in one, which is not very practical, right? On one place only.
It's not a bad way to reflect, because when you write something, it's easier to remember it later. Even if you never read that thing that you wrote again, just the act of writing it makes it easier to remember. So going through all this stuff again helps to keep it in your mind. So I'm writing it down.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
There's something else that Desi does that's really cool that I'm trying to steal. So Desi never leaves a meeting without understanding exactly what the thing we have decided is, exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and who's going to do it. She does this thing, and Desi, don't dodge compliments, by the way, you're totally super organized. She does this thing where at the end of the meeting, she's like, okay, so first we give this feature to Mitko, then Mitko goes on vacation, but that's okay because we have other things to do. And then when he comes back from vacation, he will do this, this, and this. It's very nice.
She summarizes. Remember the quote, Pavlina, about the meeting minutes?
No.
From
No.
the Yes Minister show.
With elegant inevitability.
Yeah, so yeah, this is mastering the meeting minutes, something that me and you are talking about doing and we don't do, like, ever.
Can I have a link for that?
Yes, I'll send
Oh,
it.
it's funny. Yeah.
It's funny.
You can put it in the shared
I will.
document. Okay. And Dimo, how do you stay so calm?
I use the mute button a lot.
So actually you're going "Arr" in the background.
Chill pill. That was the expression, right?
What was the expression?
Chill pill, right?
Chill pill.
Right. Chill pill.
Take a chill pill. That's a bit 1990s, but I remember it. And but how does one chill?
Smoke.
Smoke? Chemistry. Right? What do you think?
Chemistry, like drugs?
Well, so
Not all drugs make you relaxed. Some of them make you excited.
right, so, but I think that Nikolai was onto something where so tobacco has psychoactive substances in it. So does alcohol. So does coffee. You know, it doesn't have to be illegal drugs. In fact, it shouldn't be illegal drugs. You know, you never know who is listening to these conversations. So
I was referring for of the 5 minute break that you take for a smoke. You don't have to smoke. Just take a 5 minutes, go outside, watch the clouds, and then come back.
good idea. And a real break, like you really do something else. You don't think about whatever the problem is. Watch the clouds. Yeah. What do you think, Dima?
I wanted to add that you can kill some cockroaches because currently there are a couple of half dead cockroaches outside the office.
Finish them.
So, Pavlina, make sure in your new office there has to be a steady supply of cockroaches for Dimo to kill.
Yeah, I'm helping them become.
Yeah, we may find Dimo some other thing to do.
What did you say, Dimo?
I'm helping them become full dead, not half dead.
Okay, you're helping the birds or whatever. Good. Other ideas? All right. Actually, we're going to talk more about that today, so we'll leave that for now. Okay. Any questions about the homework? No. Okay. So let's go into the 4 agreements, the dream of the planet. So if you read the 4 agreements, the first chapter, or if you just read the 1 page, you should know, what is he talking about? What's the dream of the planet? I admit it's a silly way to say it. I don't like the dream of the planet as a phrase, but it's a useful concept. Pavlina's raising her hand, but I would like to ask somebody else. Should I choose someone at random? Someone who hasn't talked yet. Kostadin, what's the dream of the planet?
I didn't read the book.
In that case, I will tell you to go up in the Google document, look at that page that I pasted into it. You're there, right? And I want you to read the first sentence. Read the first sentence out loud for us, please.
During our domestication, our parents and siblings gave their opinions about us without even thinking.
Okay. Do you agree? This is for anyone. What do you think? What does he mean, domestication?
Опит
Oh,
ми
just
явно
gonna ask that.
Demeter?
I was just going to ask the same question.
Go ahead. Right? What does he mean, domestication? During our domestication, our parents gave us their opinions of us. What did you say, Kostadin?
in Bulgarian the word is опитомявам.
Well, maybe it's a new word. Is it new? No? Okay.
Isn't domestication, опитомявам is okay, but it's usually used for animals.
Yeah.
So, isn't
Right.
domestication something that you teach someone to be a part of the particular social group or environment?
Well, so that's how Don Miguel Ruiz is using it. But he's using it strangely. the standard definition of domestication is for animals. Like, so if you have a wolf, you domesticate it, and now it's a dog. And I agree with him completely that children must be domesticated. And that this process, we usually say raising children. So I'll add that to our vocabulary. You raise children, you bring up children, but I think really you domesticate them. Okay, so you domesticate children, and then you give them your opinions. What does he mean there?
Basically, the parents form the character of the children, and that's done pretty much subconsciously without giving much thought about how those opinions will reflect on the children.
Okay, all right. So parents raise their children with certain subconscious assumptions, and they don't think about how those assumptions will affect their children. Okay, all right. I agree. I think that that's what he's saying. Therefore, what should we do? If you don't know, Kostadin, that's okay. Anyone. Therefore, what should we do? We've all been raised. We've all had parents. Our parents gave us these assumptions. What should we do about that?
Find the ones that don't work.
Okay. All right. So recognize them and see which ones work and which ones don't work. All right. Any other? That's good. All right. All right. So story time. What's an assumption that you got that that didn't work, that doesn't work? Should I go first? While you're thinking, I'll go first. A good way of thinking about this, I got this from Paul. His way of thinking about this is to remember times when he remembers his father was angry at him. The time that my father was angry at me was when I came home from college with a low grade in evolutionary biology. My dad was an evolutionary biology professor. And I think it was a B, so it wasn't really terrible, but it wasn't great. It wasn't what he expected. And he said, "This is a really disappointing grade." And I said, "It was a hard class." And he got really angry suddenly. He said, "Don't give me that excuse." And I could tell he was really angry. And that shows me that my dad's expectation for me was to go into academia and become a biologist. And he could tell that I wasn't going to do that. I had a conversation with a professor who said, "Do you really want to go into academia? Are you absolutely sure? Because I'm an academic and I don't like it." So that made me reconsider my plans. If I hadn't, I would be in a worse situation now. Okay, so there's my story. Who has another story?
I have one that is way less impactful than yours.
Okay, well,
it's very simple stuff. I had to Google something. So a few years back, Polly, my girlfriend, bought some baked chestnuts. I never tried baked chestnuts until 2 years ago. So I tried them and I was, "Oh, this is amazing. Why didn't I eat the whole my life this thing? It's so tasty." And a few days later, I'm speaking with my mother over the phone, and was, something new. I just tried chestnuts and they're amazing. Why I never ate this thing as a kid? Well, me and your father, we bought some. We didn't like them. We never bought again. So I think this the effects of the parents can be very subtle and in a very, very sneaky ways, even this minute thing. Like
Right. Well,
some not.
that's a really good example, because in my example, it was something my dad said to me. But most of these assumptions come from things our parents did.
Yeah.
Number one, children imitate their parents. But number two, parents create a home that they like, and their children grow up in that home. And so they have an image of what a good home should be. A good home with no chestnuts.
Yeah.
Right? That's our utopia. So these things don't have to be anything anyone actually told you. In fact, they become more powerful when they have no words. They're just a feeling or an image.
Yeah, I can't imagine they thinking about if this is going to affect me and my sister in some way. They just didn't like them.
How will our children survive without the omega-3 fatty acids given to them by these roast chestnuts? Good. Somebody else. Give me another example. Pavlina.
So when my brother and I were little, not that little, when my brother and I were in middle school and high school, there was this rule that we each of us did the dishes on alternating days. So on even days, I would do the dishes, and then on odd days, Nicole would do the dishes. But my grandmother was very sure that housework was not a proper thing for a boy who had more important things. And so she would always come and do the dishes on whichever day Nicole was supposed to do the dishes. And when I confronted her about this, because, injustice, she said, he's busy. He has more important work to do. And I said, well, aren't I busy? He said, yes, but you should learn how to keep house, because at your age, some people already have children. And so I think that sums up the relationship of me and my grandmother pretty well since then.
Desi, what do you think about that? You're muted. You're still muted. She's okay.
Desi's computer refused to turn
Are you
on.
stuck here? Let me see. I will ask you to unmute. Does that make a difference? No. Okay. Well, we agree with you. We received your support. Yeah. Okay. While Desi works on unmuting herself. Anybody else? Reactions to Pavlina or your own story?
Me and my sister had a game at family gathering around Christmas or Easter or stuff like that, to place a secret bet between us, which of the uncles will say the most racist or sexist or stuff things. I can keep account. And it's fun, but it gets awkward when we start celebrating something and no one at the table knows what is it. So with old people, maybe everywhere, but especially in Bulgaria, it's kind of common thing. I'm not surprised.
Well, we're going to talk about how it can be a problem. But before we do, Desi, what do you want to say?
I was able to unmute. Come
Yay!
on. I had the diametrically other experience in my home, because my father and my mother didn't want me to become a housewife and do everything in the home. like there is no, it's very interesting because there is no woman's work, right? They're teaching me to that. But nevertheless, my mother is cleaning, doing the laundry, and making salad for my dad when he gets home, and that's normal. She's doing the shopping, everything. It's like patriarchy there. But they didn't teach me anything when I lived at home. And when I first when I came to Sofia, there was the lady in the laundry place that teaches me how to turn on the laundry machine.
Very good.
There were my friends that taught me how to make a soup and things like that. And to this day, I can't clean, like not I can't, I am physically able to do that. I'm physically able to clean, to make everything in order, but most of you have seen my desk at work, so it's not, because this is just something that is not coming to me like a natural thing, like cleaning and putting everything where it belongs. And I'm trying to learn that, but I really need to put a lot of effort, like a lot of effort. Like I'm seeing Svetlana, for example, she's my close friend. In her home is always clean. She can come home, cook, clean, do some things, and it looks like home. In our place, it's not. We need help from outside because Theodore is also a dirty person like me, and we just wasn't teach as a children to do that. So this is something that is not working for me, and I'm fighting to learn how to do it. So Pavlina, I know you're angry to your grandmother because she did the dishes for your brother, but now you have some knowledge how to do things, and you can choose if you're going to do them or not. I can't choose.
Who
Well,
does the dishes in our
maybe
house?
I'll send her to you to
That's deep.
teach you how to do the dish. I have hated doing the dishes so much all my life since then, I think, that at our engagement, Dan and I had an engagement party here, and that was his like first like paragraph of spoken Bulgarian. But Dan, do you remember that?
Yes, I will wash the
Ah.
dishes, and I will carry Pavlina from one corner of the room to the other.
Yeah.
That's what I told him.
That's what he promised to my parents, that he will wash dishes. And later on, I told him, you don't have to wash the dishes, just let's buy a dishwasher.
But Desi raised a really good point, which is helpful, especially for us parents in this conversation, and those of us who might become parents, is it's easy to take stories like this and say, oh, you know, my parents did something bad. I'm never going to do such bad things with my kids. No, you will. Don't worry about it. You go ahead, Desi.
That's something that I talked about with someone soon, that we won't screw up our children like our parents does. We'll do it in an entirely different kind.
Yes, exactly.
Because we will not, for sure, we're not going to do the things that bothered us, no matter if our children will be bothered from those things or not.
Right.
Because Maggie might love to do dishes and you won't let her because
no, because it's not feminist.
You don't like your daughter to experience that, right? But she might like to do that. Right. And we're going to do some different horrible things to them.
Yeah. Right. And so for this reason, I see, like in my family, I can see a alternation of generations where my sister and my grandmother are very similar. And my mother and her grandmother, who's dead now, but when she was alive, were very similar. So each one raised their kid in the opposite way. So, and so there is no perfect ideology. You know, you can't say, okay, we're going to raise our kids according to the patriarchy, and that's going to work. and then say, no, we're going to raise our kids according to feminist principles, and that's going to work. No, nothing works. You just have to you just have to deal with them. So that's good, you know. Okay, let's move on, because we were talking about why is it bad? What is the problem with these assumptions that we get? Sometimes they're just cute. Sometimes they're helpful. You know, our parents did teach us some useful things, but sometimes they cause problems. And I'm going to make someone else read from the book. I'm going to make Tsvetan, are you back from your adventure? No. Okay. In that case, Simeon, what does this guy have to say about spells? He talks about spells and curses. And if you didn't read it, I'll make you read something.
Yes, please. Make me read it.
Okay. So let's start in the first paragraph. He says, someone gives an opinion.
Someone gives an opinion and says, look, this girl is ugly. The girl listens, believes she's ugly, and grows up with the idea that she's ugly. It doesn't matter how beautiful she is, as long as she has that agreement, she will believe that she's ugly. That is the spell she's under.
Good. Thank you. Perfect. So that's the spell that she's under. So Don Miguel Ruiz calls this a spell.
Yeah.
Right. So you have this, you have the girl fears that she's ugly. So whenever anyone talks about anything connected to that fear, she will have a very strong reaction, much stronger than you would rationally. And this guy calls it a spell. He calls it a curse. When someone curses you, and you have this intense negative reaction to something that shouldn't bother you, but it does bother you. So my example of that is connected to my previous story. So my parents, their assumption for me was that I would grow up in academia. And in the US, academia is closely connected to the political left. They expected that I would grow up to be a good Democrat. And good Democrats.
You married me.
And then I married Pavlina, who's an IT entrepreneur. She's like Jeff Bezos. It's terrible. It's the devil. And there's a whole bunch of things that you're supposed to do if you're a good Democrat. So I'm going to read to you this email that I got from a friend of mine 2 years ago. And I haven't talked to her since then. So here's the email. You can see it in the Google Doc. I've highlighted it. So in the email, my friend and I are having a conversation about our kids and the songs from cartoons that they like. We're talking about this cartoon. My friend says, it's a good episode. How old is she now? 4? We usually stick to a no screen time under 2 rule, aside from family video chat, because her son is 2. But when the slog of unsupported child rearing in quarantine defeats us, we let him watch a couple minutes of animal videos or Simon's Cat. Right? So I read that. And then I turned off my computer and I came downstairs and I saw Maggie and Ellie watching videos on their phones. And I went insane. I got really, really angry at them. I took away their phones, yelled at them. Why did I do that? Pavlina is saying, yeah, you did. So why did I do that? Where did this come from?
You got triggered.
I was triggered. Yeah. So in modern parlance, we say he was triggered. Don Miguel Ruiz says I was cursed. It's the same thing. So why was I triggered? What was the gun if I was triggered? Do you have an idea, Simeon? Go ahead.
Yeah, probably. I don't know if I'm right. Well, I reckon you've got some thoughts and concerns about letting your kids spend certain amounts of time with technology, and you obviously want to be, you know, careful and strict with that. And when she told you about her experience and how the quarantine kind of made her break the rules in case they had those before that, I don't know. You got angry because someone slipped up so easily under the pressure of quarantine, and you obviously thought of when you saw the kids, you know, bless you, Pavlina. When you saw the kids playing on their phones, you probably thought, damn, you know, this woman, I'm admitting it or something like that. I don't know if I explained it well. I didn't, probably.
You explained it very well, thank you. I missed your mic cut out at the end. You said this woman.
Oh, did it?
Something.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
I don't know. Okay. Well, anyway, I get the gist. I saw her problem and I thought, oh no, that's my problem too.
Yeah, and you probably thought you probably had a bit of a judgmental moment in your mind, going, "Oh, this woman, how could she do it?" And then you went to the living room or whatever the kids were, and you saw them doing pretty much the same thing. You're like, "It shouldn't be like that."
That happened. This judgment that I made reflected back on me.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, so that actually does happen to me all the time, and it is a real thing. In this case, though, it didn't. In this case, it was something else. I think. But I'll ask this question: what do you think that she was thinking when she wrote this email to me?
I think she was trying to present herself as a good mother, not letting her kids, you know, spend too much time with technology. And she's kind of, you know, excusing herself with the quarantine, unsupported child rearing, etc.
Right. She was trying to excuse herself, exactly, because she was afraid that I would judge her. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't talked to her in 2 years, but I think that that's a good theory. But then my insanity came from a slightly different place. What else? Who else has a theory? You come here. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes. Well, you unmuted yourself, so you want to say something.
Yeah. It started a bit like a game. What was Dan thinking?
Yeah, right. That's a game I play all the time.
I guess it's funny when other people participate. I'm usually by myself. Yeah, I think you felt a bit judged by her, and it got to you because she's a friend of yours. So I think you basically this this judgment got to you, and then you were triggered when you saw that Maggie and Teddy were on their phones. So she's correct. I do let them watch too much video.
Right. Well, so she makes this implication that it's bad for children to watch videos. So this is what Don Miguel Ruiz calls an agreement. It's what I've been calling an assumption. The assumption is it's bad for kids to watch videos, and that is a matter of debate. You know, is it bad? How bad is it? But that's rational. I wasn't being rational. I was just triggered. Go ahead, Desi.
Without knowing that person.
Yeah.
As most of you know, I tend to give the benefit of the doubt of all people. So maybe she was just sharing her experience, that we couldn't follow that rule, which is hard to follow, I imagine, because how can you entertain a 2-year-old without videos, which is the most easy thing. And what I'm thinking is maybe you, without her in the picture at all, was thinking and had this doubt in yourself
Yeah.
that you bring your children to watch too many videos, and
Right.
that's why you get triggered. It has
Right.
nothing to do with that lady. It was,
Well, I mean, so it has something to do in the sense that she triggered me, but it wasn't her intention. Right.
yeah, it wasn't her attention. If someone else would say that, reading that without having a children that I give to watch videos,
It's nothing, right?
nothing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nothing. And I have a story here.
Okay. Give us your story.
And it involves Pavlina.
Oh, no.
And she doesn't know that, actually. The first time when you went to US and I was working here, you came back with gifts for all of us. Do you remember what you bring me?
I remember something about alcohol, but it may not have been for you.
Yeah, it was for me.
Okay.
It was
The glitter bottle.
The glitter bottle to bring with me all the time, to have alcohol on my disposal whenever I feel like. It's an amazing gift, but at that time I was thinking, do I drink too much? Maybe I drink too much.
No.
Maybe I shouldn't drink every night wine or a beer while I'm walking the dog. And Pavlina is coming from US and she's bringing me like I'm some kind of alcoholic, like I can't stand not having alcohol with me. Come on, maybe I have a problem. And that has nothing to do with Pavlina. It's amazing gift. It's somewhere here. I tend to use it on my wedding, by the way, because then I will need alcohol.
Yes, you will.
In me. And that has nothing to do with her. But I feel like, do I drink too much? Should I stop drinking now?
Yeah, that's a perfect example. That's because to us, everything is about us. You know, you can only look at the world from your own perspective. And so everything that everyone does and says around you must have some connection to you, right? They must be telling you something. You're letting your kids watch cartoons, you're drinking too much. And in fact, in those cases, we're talking to ourselves. Nikolai, you had something you wanted to say.
I was just agreeing with this.
Okay. Right. So the benefit of the doubt. I think that that's a good tool to use to explain these sorts of problems. And I think in this case, the benefit of the doubt is that my friend is under her own spell. She's under the same spell that I am. We're under the spell of videos are bad. And she was afraid that I would judge her. And in doing so, she, well, I don't know what she did, but I felt like she judged me. And isn't this ridiculous? Isn't this a funny universe that we live in, where we're both afraid of the same thing, and because we're both afraid of the same thing, we scare each other about that thing. That thing which might have nothing bad objectively at all. Welcome to culture. Here's our culture, right? We're two Americans. Tihomir, what?
That's how politics work.
Right. So Pavlina's business guru says that culture is a conversation. And I think it's this kind of conversation where no one is really aware of what they're saying or why, but they're definitely scaring each other. And you'll notice that people who have the same culture buy into the same assumptions, and they end up doing something ridiculous together. So, we're out of time. The Book of Joy, talk about that next time. And talk about that next time. And we're at a perfect point to go into the homework. The homework for next week is chapters 3 and 4 in the 4 agreements. One of those is don't take anything personally. So this is exactly Don Miguel Ruiz knows. He knows what we're talking about. The other homework, if you're interested in some extra videos, is this. I've highlighted it. You can see is this video called "Understanding the Culturescape." We were talking about culture. We're talking about assumptions. Don Miguel Ruiz calls them agreements. This guy calls it the culturescape. I think it's a dumb name, but I agree with him. So you can watch that video, and you can make your own video. Your own video is, what are you grateful for in the last 3 or 4 days? So from whatever time you make the video, something that you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be big. It can just be, I'm grateful that I have a healthy body that can move around the way I want it to. That's been me the past couple of days. So there you are. Do you have any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
Why you haven't spoke with that lady for 2 years?
All right. It's because I have been,
we're talking about this conversation, and I feel that you are realizing that she wasn't, or you assume that she wasn't trying to be hurtful or aggressive. So that's very interesting. Why you still don't talk?
well, so initially my reaction was just shut the doors. And since then I've been thinking about this and digesting it and coming to understand it. And I did reach the understanding before our class. I didn't actually want you to give me therapy. I did reach the understanding before our class that it wasn't my friend's intention to hurt me, but intention, it's actually worse if it's unintentional, because if it's unintentional, you can't talk to the other person about it. You can't say, you hurt me, therefore you should stop. The other person says, what? I didn't hurt you. So the problem becomes more complicated. And I need to get to a point where I can have this conversation with her and feel good about it. So that's what I'm trying to work toward now. I should also say, she lives in America. We communicate with email. So it's not like we see each other every day. So that's thank you for your concern, though.
Can I add something?
Go ahead, Pavlin.
Because the class is over and we're just talking.
Now we're just talking. Okay.
So
we don't have
the
kids,
thing that
we don't need to worry about them.
Right.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you why I am not encouraging Dan to talk to her, even though I like her very much as a person. So when Maggie was very little, she had many medical problems, and they basically couldn't move from her waist down for some time. And when you have a child like that, when you have a baby like that, you have to entertain it with something. Yeah. So one of the things we entertained her with was videos back before it was trendy, back when we had Dan's Windows Surface.
A Windows Surface. Yeah.
Yeah. So I spent more time in a hospital with that Windows Surface than anyone else. Yeah. And so I get very triggered when someone tries to, when a very high and mighty parent tries to tell me how bad videos are. Because, yeah, maybe they're bad, but life happened differently. And so I recognize my own trigger, and I can't talk to them about that. I don't want to be their therapist. I don't want to convert them. I'd rather not talk.
Yeah.
And
so part of this is recognizing our own limits. Like I'm not at a place yet where we can talk about this. My goal is to get to that place eventually.
Spiritually enough to talk to you.
Right? Excuse me, I'm sorry. I haven't grown spiritually enough to talk to you. Goodbye. Until then.
I will use that phrase.
You use that phrase.
Dana?
Paulina?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nikki. You're first.
Okay, I just want to say that keep in mind that 90% of those high and mighty parents are lying. So
Right.
I'm
It's
telling
okay.
you, this is the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know that, but it just makes me feel bad. And so I it's one of those like, if I don't like a food, I don't eat it. And if a person makes me feel bad, I don't talk to them.
Right.
So
Yeah. But you're right, Nikolai. There is an enormous amount of shame around parenting, and this is why shame is bad. It doesn't cause us to be better parents. In fact, perhaps the reverse. So this is one of the reasons why I have worked so hard to avoid shame and to avoid making other people feel it. It's exactly what the next chapter in the book is about. I'm very excited about next week. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I actually have to go, but I will see you guys next week.
Bye then.
Bye.